Hello, listeners. Hi, my name is Madhavi, and I'm so happy to have you on UppTalk. You have come to the right place if you want to learn about IT and do really cool things with your hands. We are not just another IT company when I say UppTalk. Think of us as your learning partner dedicated to helping you reach your full potential. We have top notch hands on courses to help you build your business, whether you're new to technology or want to move up in your current job. Let's look around this as our first step towards learning.
Security policies, business process. Security policy allows you to perform the business process. Transaction, water, or the business process. Transaction initiation is one of the business process. Transaction approval is one of the business process. Transaction pay cancel is one of the business process transaction. Resign is one of the business process transaction. Return is one of the business process. Transaction and correction is one of the business process. Transact meaning that if you wanted to create anything in work of East, almost 95% of the transactions that we create in Workday are associated with the business process. Example associated business process hiring an employee, terminating an employee. You have a task called hire an employee. You have a task called terminate employee. You have a task called promote an employee. You have a task called transfer an employee. You have a task called create position. You have a task called change. Benefits for an employee. You have a task called place worker on leave. You have a task called return worker from leave. These are all the tasks, but ideally, all these tasks behind the screen are associated with the business process. Each of these tasks has their own business process associated. Example, hire an employee, hire business process. Terminate an employee, terminate business process. Promote an employee job, change business process. Change, add benefits to employee, change benefits business process. And transfer an employee job change business process. Every business process, every task that we have in Workday are associated with business process in Workday. 95% of the tasks that we have in Workday are associated with business process. I can say some tasks that we perform in Workday are not associated with business process. They're individual tasks. Example, create company, create supervisor organization, create cost center, create company hierarchy, create cost center hierarchy. These are the tasks that will be allowed to create organizations, but ideally they are not associated with any of the business process. Those are individual tasks. Any tasks that are associated with business process will come under BP security policy with the transaction that we perform. Example, hire an employee if you are able to, or create position if you are able to create position, meaning that you have initiation permissions for them. That's the reason why you are able to create position. If you are not able to create position means you don't have initiation permissions for create position business process. And similarly approval. If you are able to submit a leave request and manager is not able to approve that leave, request means manager does not have permissions to approve. He does not have approval transaction permissions at leave request, business process action. Not have approval transaction permissions at request, leave of absence business process. Similarly, cancel is one of the business process transaction. Any transaction that is in progress can be cancelled. Actually, if you're hiring an employee, hire business process has got triggered actually, and hire process is in progress, and when the process is in progress, the candidate for whom hire is actually triggered reached out to the HR saying that I am withdrawing my offer. I don't want to join this organization. I am withdrawing my offer. In that case, hire is not meaningful. Now, if you hire an employee, that's waste actually. Because employee candidate who is shortlisted for this position is not getting hired, is not joining actually. There is no need for you to proceed with further hire process. You can cancel that one since the transaction is in progress. You can cancel it. In the transaction is in progress, you can cancel. You cannot proceed further because even if you proceed further, there is no meaning actually because candidate is not joining. No, yes, the transaction called cancel can come here and you can cancel that one. When you will be able to cancel this, when you have cancelled transaction permissions for that higher business process, then only you can cancel. And the other important thing here is only in progress. Things can be cancelled once the hire is completed. Employees hide into the system. We cannot cancel again. When it is in progress, you can cancel. When you can cancel it when you have cancelled transaction permissions at higher BP. Similarly, all other business process, you can take create position. You can take, let's say, create position is getting created and later on your finance team says that we all the position creations are on hold because of the budget issues. We don't want to have any positions to be created since position has got triggered now. If it is completed, position is already created, you cannot cancel it. If it is in progress, creation is in progress, then you can cancel. How you can cancel? When you have permissions, create position business process. Cancellation transaction permissions, when you have, you can cancel them. Before that, you cannot cancel. Similarly clear till here. Any confusion here? No, no. Yes. Cancel and then resign. Resign is also one of the business process transaction. It is completely opposite to cancel. Here we are saying we can cancel when the transaction is in progress and we cannot cancel when the transaction is complete is what we are talking about. Talking about cancel. This is opposite to that. Actually, we can resign the transaction when the transaction is complete, but we cannot resign the transaction when the transaction is in progress. Meaning that resign is nothing but which will be removing the transaction from birthday. You have same example. If you take you have initiated a hire for an employee and the hire transaction has got completed. Employee got hired into the system and tomorrow employee is going to join actually and we will be getting information from candidate that candidate is not joining and candidate has declined the offer. What kind of information we will be getting has got already hide into the system. Now here you cannot cancel. You have an option to resign the transaction. Since the transaction is already completed now, you can resign. When you resign that, the hire record will get removed from the system. It will be there in the transaction history, but will not be showing as an active employee. That record will be removed from the system. When you resign that, the record will be removed from this. Hire record will be removed from the system. You are able to do this because you have a resign permission set higher business. Higher business process security permissions you have. For that reason, you are able to resign. Cancel can be done in progress. Resign can be done. when it is complete. These are the two differences that you need to have clear between these two. Any questions? Cancel means before approving, you can cancel it. Resign means no before completing, before complete, before completed. If it's complete, you cannot cancel once before, which sign means it's a rollback, or they can think the rollback, you are revoking that actually. Now the same will be an interview question when you attend for a security certification. These are all the points that you will be questioned in certification. Actually, if anyone goes deep dive into security, these are all the things that you need to deliver action. Someone asks you, what is business process security policy? You need to explain this as an example. What is an approval? What is the cancellation? When do you cancel? When do you resign? And kind of questions you might have. We are cleared. No confusion here. Cancel game done. When it is in progress, resign game done. When it is complete. When it is complete. Got resign. When you see reassign, reassign in the task from one person to other person. Let's say you, as an employee, have submitted a leave request, actually, and that goes to your manager. Because you have configured business process in such a way, actually, leave request has gone to your manager and your manager is not in office. He is out of office actually. Your manager is out of office and is not able to approve that. And your leave date has come and you have reached out to HR saying that my manager is not there. My leave request has to get approved. It is not yet because my manager is out of office. What your HR will do is whatever the task that is sitting in your manager inbox, you will be reassuring that from your manager to your manager's manager or any other person. How HR is able to do that? Because HR is having permission set. The request leave of absence, business process for reassigned transaction. That's the reason why HR is able to do. Understood? Understood. The system is already configured, but only HR will have access. Then they will reassign only. HR will have array operations. If HR is not able to do what the team can do. All these things, operational things, HR will be taken care of. Got all these things they need to give us as part of requirements when we are configuring a business process security policy. Who to perform what has to be defined by the business and based on the business request. We will be configuring the business process security policy for business process action. Let's say create position. Who should have permissions to create position? They will give list of security. You will be configuring the business process security policy for create position business process at initiation level. Similarly, who should have cancelled, who should have resigned, who should be reassigning, who should have correction permission. All these things they will be giving. If they are not giving as an implementation partner who are implementing, they will be explaining all these things to business action. This is how it works. These are all the things should be taken care and how you want it to do. The agent partner will explain or based on their experience with other customers. They will actually show some examples and based on that, business can understand. They can give their understanding and their requirements and based on that, implementer will be comparing the business process security policy. That is for reassign and similarly correction. Anything that is in progress or anything that is already completed. If you wanted to correct that, let's say, for example, hire. You already hired an employee or you're hiring an employee. Employee has reached out saying that, hey, can you move my hire date from this date to this date? Can you move 2 weeks from current hire date because I have some emergency? I cannot join on this date. And please move my hire date from this date to this date. Here you'll be correcting the hire date from one to other hire date. How you're able to do that? Because you have correction permission transaction for hire business process. The reason why you're able to perform hire date correction. These are the only steps or any other steps in. These are not steps. Actually, these are transactions. These are only transactions that we have in business process security policy. Steps are different. Steps comes at configuration actually. These comes under security. These are transactions basically. These are all the transactions that comes behind the screen. Once it is configured, you will not be touching these again. These are done at implementation stage. Only when there is a change in the security, you will come back and do changes for the security. Steps are different. Steps and conditions are completely different. Oh, there is a reason why we call business process security policy as allows you to perform a business process transaction. These are all the business process transactions. When you are attending a certification, mandatory certification, question would be on security policy. I don't know where the interviews people will be touching, but this is a very basic and fundamental. Definitely people might ask and you cannot say standard definition when someone asks you. Your explanation should be something real-time use case description actually, that they can understand your level of expertise actually. If you just go with standard definition, security policy are two types. One type is this one type is this one. If you explain this one, that would be a kind of junior level person who just got trained how they'll explain it will be in that way. But expertise who have a complete hands on the security, they can actually go with some kind of use case description. What all the things comes under security policy, they can take a use case and describe that one. That's how I was saying hiring an employee or leave of absence or create position. You can take any business process as an example and talk about these transactions. Now tell me completely on the business process. The creative policy. Tell what we've discussed in all the transactions. In the business transactions, we talked about hiring an employee or anything. First transaction is initiation. Then once the transaction is started, then whether people can approve or cancel. Or if you're ready before completing the transaction, they can cancel it. Or when the transaction completed, then they can resign it. Then if it's a way when we discussed about anything, something is We are waiting for approval or anything or something that has to be used another way. Business process. They can say transaction for reassigning if something is now. Somebody is not available or something is not there, you can reassign. We can correction also. Something is wrong or some sort of data or not going to be and anything. Anything can be. I've taken an example as one date actually, but there can be anything actually. If you want to change the title, once employee has got hired, if you want to change the job title, you can correct the job title by correcting that one. All these things comes under business process security policy, then comes under domain security policy. Domain security policy will allow you to see the data and modify the data. Whatever you are seeing in the day, whatever you're viewing in Workday, whatever you're able to edit in Workday are based on the domain. Securities that you're associated with the security group. You're able to see your compensation. You're able to see your performance goals that you need to submit. You're able to see your personal data. You're able to you're able to edit your personal data. You're able to see your contact information, able to edit your contact information. All these things you are able to perform through domain security policies. When you have such kind of view and modify permissions, you will be able to view as modify the data. Quote. And similarly for domain security policy also, you can see get and put actually. Get and put is related to integrations. View and modify allows you to view the data and modify the data. Get and put permissions will allow you to. It allow your integration to get the data and pull that information or load that information. If it is outbound integration, if that integration has get permissions, let's say personal data, if you're running an integration and if that integration user that is associated with integration has get permissions for personal data, then it will be able to pull that personal information. Similarly, the same if it is inbound integration, if you are able to load the personal data, means you need to have put permissions actually. Put permissions will allow you to load. Get permissions will allow you to extract and send outside of bug data. These two are core fundamentals actually. Security. If you can write a summary when someone asks something about security, can you tell me what about security? If someone asks, you need to give half an hour description actually that they will not ask any other question after that. If entire kind of features of these two policies, whatever the example that we have discussed, you can actually explain this for 15 to 20 minutes. The person will not have any other question actually because these two are key assets of security and you're able to keep it in a formatted way. And that person can understand, yes, this person has worked on all these things. There shouldn't be any kind of concerns on the security knowledge for you. Once you are aware of all this, then comes types of security. Based on this understanding, you will be defining the types of security how you want it to have based on your needs actually. Good. I understand. Before knowing the types of security, you need to understand constrained versus unconstrained. What is a constrained security? What is unconstrained security? In my language, constraint means restricted. Unconstrained means not restricted on anything, not full of wire access. Then, based on my creating any security, based on no. It's a local law or a domain, and depending on the rule, we can give constraint around constraints any but some, not administrator other than an administrator. We always go as a constraint while creating a security group. One constraint means all the administrators will get unconstrained because they have larger access of the different levels. Basically, constraint is restricted, but on what basis it is restricted? You're aware of that. Maybe we can. Unconstrained is unlimited. Actually, there is no restriction. It's a kind of standalone actually. But constraint is restricted actually. But on what basis it is restricted? Based on that domain, sorry, level of security or based on the organization is restricted. Constrained security means based on org level, access is restricted. If you wanted to provide to anyone to control personal data for only India employees, then what you need to define? You need to create a constraint security based on India company or India cost center or India location hierarchy. Hierarchy. Based on this organization type, you can restrict permissions to India only. Let's say HR partner is there, HR partner is there. Our partner responsibility is to manage HR data for an employee, but HR partner should be specific to India, specific to Singapore, to Mexico, to US, to Canada. Each country HR partner should have access to their own country, but should not have access to other country employees. India HR should have access to manage HR data for India employees, but should not have access to US employee, Canada employee, Australia, Mexico, other countries. Here, constraint security group comes into picture. You are going to restrict the permissions for company. Based on company, you are trying to restrict access. That's what constraint security talks about, actually. Security can be unlimited. With respect to the organization, your permissions are wide. Actually, the same personal data, let's say HR partner, is their HR partner you have given. Personal domain, personal data domains based on company. Actually, when you give based on company person, HR partner from India should have access to manage the personal information of employee who is from India, but should not have access to US employee or Canada employee or Australian because access is restricted here. Constraint access is restricted here. That's where HR is limited for that particular organization. And similarly, if you take unconstrained, HR should have access to personal data globally. Constraint will not come. Here administrator access should come because it's an unconstrained security. HR administrator comes into the picture. HR administrator will give personal information domain. Anyone who is associated with HR administrator should access the personal data but will not have any restriction, can access employee personal information who sits in India, who sits in Canada, who sits in Australia. There is no limitation here. The same personal information can be accessed for any employee globally. That's what unconstrained talks about. There is no limitation for unconstrained security. See, similarly, you can take any permission section. That's what your unconstrained security and constrained security talks about. I for Constraint is this organization level. These are the basic level of understanding of security action. Based on these fundamentals, you can actually frame your security groups, how you want it to define or create your security groups. Based on that, whatever the security group is that we have created will work on this. That's how we created the role-based security. If you see, I'm seeing it. For an employee, Monica, we are actually testing Monica actually. Monica is assigned with People Partner Security Group, People Partner Role-Based Security Group, which is constrained one of us People Partner Constrained Security Group for a company called GMS USA. Whatever permission are assigned for these people, part of security group should be restricted for GMS USA. This is a role-based security group, constraint one action. The steps of creating. If you want to create a role-based security constraint, you need to create a role first. You need to create a role first and assign this role to role-based security group actually. We have assigned role created for role-based security. Constraint, one with the same name, actually people partner, and then we have assigned all these permissions. Actually, you can see all the personal data, compensation data. You can see the personal functional area. Basically, functional area will define all the functional areas. Personal data, compensation, permissions, and payroll data, contact learning, advanced compensation, all these permissions were given actually benefits, payroll, basically all the benefits, compensation, and personal data permissions that we have given. This employee, Monica, should be able to access this information for any employee from GMS company. Because that is restricted. No, people from the company. Role is restricted from GMS. Now she should be able to. Monica should be able to view all the permissions that we have assigned for people partner role for only employees from this company. And also there is one more company item. Same role is added for Thailand company. For these two companies, Monica can actually access this information, but anyone from other companies cannot access. Now we will test this one. How we will test? We need to take two example employees. Jacqueline is from GMS Visa company. She is from GMS VSA company. And similarly, other employee. And you say it in space. She is from Thailand actually. Fire and company. These two employees. Monica can access because she is from. She is having permissions to view GMS USA company. Employees and GMS Thailand company employees. Now, since this one is from GMS Thailand, another one from GMS USA, she should be able to access any data with the permission that was in for these two employees, but anyone outside of these two companies will not be able to. Let's see, proxy is Monica. Thank you. I am proxying as Monica and accessing Jacqueline information. Now we can see Monica is able to see Jacqueline's personal information. Information able to see benefits. All the benefit panel is assigned and able to see performance data, able to see what else we have added. Personal information we were able to see and benefits. We will see payroll. Information. We were able to see all the payment, elections, pay inputs and all everything we were able to see. The same information you will not be able to see other than GMS, EOK or Thailand employees. Let's see for Thailand employee also. She should be able to see same information if employee has that information. Taking this employee Zingazini, who is from Thailand company. Now for Thailand employee save information, Monica is able to see. Because we are boxing as Monica, she is able to see all the personal information, benefits. You're able to see the benefits tab actually meaning that benefits, permissions we have single senior does not have any benefit because silent employees does not have any benefits as US employee she has and access but there is no data for her to see. Similarly, payroll she is able to see all the pay inputs, pay elections, all these things able to see because we're able to see these tabs meaning that she has permissions. Actually and similarly what else performance. All the competencies feedbacks should be able to. Now we have tested for the permissions that Monica has. She's assigned a people partner role for GMS company and GMS US and GMS silent company. That's the reason why she's able to see those two country employees' data. Now access Canada employees and see whether Monica is able to see or not. Whether she has access to view company. Because we do not provide any permissions for view company. Thank you. Who is from Canada company? And see whether Monica has access to personal information or not. She is not seeing any personal information. She is not seeing any personal information, marital status, all those things, gender. You cannot see that tab itself here. For other two folks you were able to see, but for Canada employee you're not able to. And similarly, you're not seeing any benefits menu here, or you cannot see any payroll here. You cannot see at least benefits and payroll minus in the list, actually because she does not have access to that data. That is the reason why she is not able to. Here she has access to ID information. That is the reason why it is showing actually. Maybe it comes for employer self-security group. That is the reason why she is able to see. But personal information permission that we have assigned, she is not able to see that information because we have restricted that to only for US and Thailand companies. Actually, that is the reason why she is not able to. And also the pay group, whatever position that we have had since pay is not there. She does not have any access to payroll data. And also performance also, you can see nothing. We were having performance competencies for the other two folks. Here, it does not have anything actually. That's where your access has restricted based on the company. That's what constraint security group talks about actually. Type can be anything. It can be role based, it can be job based, it can be any other. But the functionality will be the same as how we are seeing now. You are able to understand clearly now. I understood. That should be a basic, fundamental for you actually. Please do like, share, and subscribe to our channel. For more information, contact us sales@therightuptalk.com.